The first thing you want to know is revenue doesn't always equal profit. There's that gap of materials or cost of sales. That's the thing. You want to know that every time you close a deal, it costs to close a deal. How much does it cost to get the equipment, your labor, time spent on the job, taxes, payroll? That's how revenue is not equaling profit. Or someone could like mistakenly think that, okay, they're closing 500,000 in revenue, but only walking away with 80,000. That gap is the mystery that we help provide us clarity on. Well, the biggest misconception is that revenue doesn't equal your profit. There's so many scenarios or stipulations on why you're not walking away with a higher profit than you think you should be. And like 4 or 5 bullets is, you may have some poor pricing, not great of a financial or cash management. Overhead, of course, is one of the biggest money spenders. You might not be job costing properly. The big boys, the big companies, they're job costing everything, and then you have your smaller ones that are actually in the community more. They're doing a lot of work, but because they don't have the time, they're not actually seeing what it costs for them to produce their sales or their work. So they're not tracking stuff. This is the second part of the job. They're out in the field, but they also need to come back to the office, sit down and like really look at their numbers. And a lot of them, they don't understand it. They don't have the time. So they need like a second pair of eyes. This is where they're building a team outside of them to help them figure out the numbers. But the most basic thing, keep all your receipts. And at the end of the day, or at least each week, you're looking at how much you spent versus how much you brought in. I've had some businesses who they don't see the benefit of breaking out. You have your install department versus your service. Your service department is usually just your everyday service call. It's not that it's not generating a lot of money, because service can generate a lot of money, but your install, it's generating much more than what your service is, but it's also spending much more than what your service side is producing. So to have everything kind of lump in, you're not seeing your business on that scale of, maybe I need to go harder in getting my equipment sold. Or maybe someone who might not want to scale such a higher on or scale higher like a bigger company, they enjoy doing services and keep it smaller. Maybe their profitability or their sweet spot is in services, right? Services is usually the money comes quicker. Money, of course, gets spent quicker. Install, the money can take a bit of time to come, but of course it's a bigger revenue in that sense. So but I know that by having those items split out where your departments are, you can break down and adjust accordingly with that. The first and I think the hardest one is to actually make the time to sit down, because with contractors, they're always out in the field. They're always in the community serving others, right? But now they need to actually sit down at an office and look through figures, look through receipts, look through just all of those documents, right? Reports. So the first thing is to make space, make an appointment with yourself, like you're sitting down with your accountants and focusing on nothing but numbers. The second one would be to have maybe a software database or CRM that has the capability to having reports that shows how much your job is costing, like your price books, your sales reports, something of that sort. Even if it's just a accounting software, something that you can put all your expenses in, all your pricings in. just to build up a report that you can visually see where your money's going and how much it actually costs to do a job. And the next thing, of course, is to get into that routine. And each week or every other day, however it fits in their company, they should be that's like a non-negotiable that they have to look at those numbers each week because in this industry, everything is fast paced, right? And every day you're literally spending money every single day. So the quicker that you can get to that table, look at your numbers, adjust your prices, the better it is. So you won't be at, job 5, 6, 7 down the road making the same mistakes. So yeah, that and just your systems, creating some systems. How to not go broke while you're in this seasonal business, right? Over the years, I've learned that in this industry, because it's seasonal, springtime, summertime are the hottest times. And I've seen where some owners don't prepare for fall and winter. So, pretty much a couple of tips that I have for that is we're going to plan our reserves, tighten up your receivables, and you're going to know your numbers ahead of time. So, what does that look like? When you plan your reserves, what I typically advise is for a business owner or HVAC, any company, any business, but specifically HVAC, have multiple checking accounts and a couple of savings accounts too, but have 3 to 4 accounts. You're going to have your income account where all your money's flowing in. You're going to have a payroll account. Nothing but payroll gets cut from that. You're going to have a profit slash reserve account. This is where all your profit, but all of your fall and winter money is going to be sitting in there, and try to get one that has like a little interest bearing on it, right? And then you'll have your vendor account, and that's where you'll pay all your vendors from. So again, you're planning accordingly. Every time you get a dollar, and I usually do this type of allocation, 100% of your income is going into your income account. Let's say if you have a marketing account, that's a good one too, but 10% is for marketing. 50% is your payroll. And depending on how the trends look, it could be less, it could be more, but a good baseline is 50%. And then you can save 10% for your taxes. You can save 10% for taxes and 10% for your profit and about 20% for your vendors. So that's how you're planning ahead. Um, and of course, as you go over time, you'll make adjustments as needed, but that's a good starting point. The mascot would be a person who has wrench or a drill or something. They're kind of chaotic looking. I see, I just see this man in he's running all over the place, sweating. And oh gosh, I hate to say, but that would be like, I don't know why I'm thinking of a Stanley, right? But that would be like he's yeah, he's like a little short steaming Stanley. He's just fuming and sweating under pressure. They're so busy taking care of others and going through the streets and so forth. It's a lot of pressure, but they bring comfort to people's homes and so forth. So they deserve some love.